First, our headliner, Chris Massicotte, an accountant and co-founder of Duval Street Media. He's going to let us know about his campaign to run for the District 3 seat on the Monroe County Commission and what prompted him to throw his hat into the ring this election season. He'll join us right now on US1 Radio. Hi, Chris. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Nick.
So let's cut to the chase. You filed to run for the County Commission in District 3, currently held by Jim Scholl. Before we get to the issues that the county faces in the coming years, I'd love to get a glimpse of who you are. So, how long have you been in the Keys, and what work and activities have you been involved in?
Yeah, so I moved to Key West in January of 2017, so that makes it just about 7 years. I permanently moved later on that summer, but I came here on vacation like so many of us and decided this is where I wanted to live and make my home. I came from Washington, D.C., where I worked in local politics for many, many years. Most of my clients were down ballot candidates like county commissioner, like, state auditors and things like that. And so when I came to the Keys, I wanted to, kind of change things up a little bit, and I started Duval Street Media with one of my friends, Jamie Mattingly, and our focus is to, help locally owned small businesses in the Keys, be more successful and find customers and bring more customers into their doors through digital marketing.
On your campaign website, which is chrisformonroe.com, you state your mission is to be a financial watchdog for the county. What's your background in finance, and what do you see going on with the county's budget?
Yeah, that was my motivation to run. I was reading the newspaper, and somebody had written a letter to the editor about how the budget had swelled, the county's budget had swelled to $667 million for only 83,000 people. And I did a little bit of research about how we compared to other counties, and we actually spend and tax more per person than any other county in Florida. And so I did a little bit more digging in the budget. I attended the rest of the budget hearings and watched the other ones, and I was kind of alarmed that there was still little pushback by the county commissioners for this massive tax increase. And I've gone back as many as 20, 25 years, and I think this may have been the biggest property tax increase in the history of Monroe County. So I decided that it's important for us as a community to have a conversation about what we do today, and it's going to affect what the Keys are like in 20 years. And you can't have a conversation without a campaign and an alternative to the status quo. And I was encouraged by so many others to run, and I never thought I would be the one seeing my name on a ballot, but here I am.
Now, you said the word conversation a couple of times. On your campaign website, you've mentioned that county meetings have gotten shorter as the budget has grown. What kind of engagement and discussion are you looking to bring to the county commission?
Yeah, that's also concerning to me. The meetings are scheduled to last up until like 5 p.m. And this just last meeting, we were out before lunch, and that's because there's so little engagement back and forth between the county commissioners. We have sunshine laws in Florida, so everything that's discussed needs to be discussed out in the open in an open forum. And when there's, only a few sentences back and forth and then a decision is made, it's kind of concerning. And I wanted to hear more, especially, they've invested a lot of time and effort into the idea of moving to a charter county. And they just abandoned it in about 5 minutes, and they've spent, well over $100,000 and a lot of time from the county's legal department to research this, and they just abandoned it in 5 minutes. So those are the kinds of things that I want to see is more engagement and more back and forth.
There's no election in the Keys that doesn't hit the subject of affordable housing and taxes. What's going on with our county, and what do you hope can be accomplished in this area in the Keys?
It really, saddens me every time I have another friend that says, hey, I can't make it, I can't afford to live here anymore. And they're artists, they're people that work in theater, it's people that work in, our tourism industry. They're just leaving because it's, nearly impossible to make a living and to enjoy the paradise that we live in if you're not, pretty wealthy. And one of the things that contributes to rising housing costs is property taxes. And renters pay the highest, price when property taxes rise because there's no homestead exemption for long-term property rentals. There are, if you own your home and you know have a homestead exemption, there's a limit to how much they can raise your taxes every year. But there is no limit to property rentals, and you know landlords have no choice but to pass that on to their tenants.
So you're pretty well known down here in Key West, but this is a county-wide election. So what's next for you in the campaign to get your name out up the Keys?
Yeah, this is pretty much day one of the campaign, and I've already traveled up the Keys several times while trying to decide whether or not to run. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the Upper Keys and you know talking to voters and listening to residents up there, because you're correct. I don't know a lot about what you know Key Largo, Isla Mirada, Marathon are going through, other than what I read in the papers and hear on the radio. So I would like to hear that directly from some of those folks there, and I'll be doing quite a bit of that and traveling up the Keys as often as I can.
Now, before I let you go, I've got to ask you, what makes you think that you're the right person to sit on the county commission?
Yeah, I've got to start by saying I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jim Scholl. You know, he served our country as the Naval Air Station Commander here. He served our city as the city manager. And in both of those positions, he was carrying out the policies of other people that, you know, he was being told to do. In this position, he's the one making the policy decisions. And I tend to disagree with a lot of the policy decisions that are happening at the county level, mainly with the budget, mainly with our level of taxes, and you know the pushback that we need to give our staff at the county level when they you know ask for stuff. Because as a county manager or a city manager, of course I'm going to ask for literally everything I need, and it's the job of the commissioners to say, hey, we need to, you know, pull back and you know, really kind of figure out how we can stretch our residents' tax dollars as far as they can go, because, you know, we're all stretched down here, and we have to, you know, make sure that we're spending our money as wisely as possible.
Okay, thanks a ton, Chris. It's been great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Nick. It was a pleasure, and I hope to meet you in person very soon.
That was Chris Massicotte, a board member with Fair Insurance Rates of Monroe and the Key West AIDS Memorial, and co-founder of Duval Street Media, talking about his run for the District 3 County Commission seat, what he'd bring to the office, and what issues he's passionate about.